Hi, so it's Kate Delaney here, and today I'm going to do a little bit of work with you on letting go of negative feelings. And this process is all about releasing feelings that are getting you down. So, in particular, looking at feelings of worry, anxiety, and looking at how we can actually let them go to move on. And in order to do this process, there are two things that we need to do to start with. The first one is to understand acceptance and what that really means. And the second is to come up with a situation that enables us to feel a sense of perspective. Now, starting with acceptance, I tell practically every client I see the same story. And this story was told to me by a fantastic hypnotherapist called Chris Altree. And it's all about a game of golf. Now, this is one of those golf tournaments. I think it's a PGA, really important competition. And there are two golfers. And the first golfer has been training for this competition his entire life. It's really important to him. The conditions are fantastic on this day, so he's feeling very optimistic about how it's going to go. He hits the ball perfectly, and the ball flies up into the air, heads straight down the fairway, heading straight for the hole. And then right at the last minute, the wind blows it, and it lands in the rough. Now, he can't quite believe that this has happened. It's not fair, it's not right, it just shouldn't have happened. And he's absolutely furious. He's in a bit of a state. And so when he goes then to take his next shot, of course, he's shaking and he lands up kind of digging up some mud and it all really goes horribly wrong and he's kind of lost really by that point. So then the second golfer, again, it's this important tournament. He's been training for it again his whole life. It's, everything hinges on this day. Again, perfect conditions, and he hits the ball beautifully. Everything's right, and the ball flies up into the air, heads straight down the fairway, heading straight for the hole. And again, from nowhere, this wind comes and blows it, and it lands in the rough. Now, the second golfer says to himself, well, whether I like it or not, the ball is here. In this moment, there's absolutely nothing I can do to change the fact that this is where the ball is. Now, what he's just done is he's just released all those negative feelings. He's released all the frustration, all the anger, all that sense of injustice. He's not resigning himself to that's how it's always going to be, but what he's saying is in this moment, there is nothing I can do to change where I have found myself. It's not okay, but it just is. Now, by releasing all that negative energy and accepting where he is, what he's done is empower himself. He's resourced himself to then take that next shot. And of course, because now by this point he is calm, he takes a beautiful shot and he goes on to win the game. Now, all too often in life, and I speak from personal experience, it's so easy to be the first golfer. It's human nature, You drop some flour out of the cupboard, it goes everywhere. It's the natural reaction is to, swear a little bit and just get stressed. It's, but at the end of the day, you can't change the fact that that is where you are. That is where the ball is. That is where the flower is. Whatever has happened, this is where you find yourself in this moment. And what happens next and the way you react to that determines how you recover from that situation. So acceptance is not resignation, and this is a really key point, that accepting where you find yourself in this moment, so whether you're suffering from feelings of anxiety, feelings of worry, if you find yourself in your life at a point that you really don't want to be, what acceptance is not doing is saying that it's okay or that it's always going to be this way. Acceptance is saying, this is where I am. This is where I find myself in this moment. And that point of knowing that, of actually realizing this is where I am. It's not okay, but it just is. That then empowers me to move forward. And then I'm in a much more relaxed state. I'm able to access all my resources to then move forward and decide what to do next. So key thing, acceptance is not resignation. It's not how it's always going to be. It's only saying it is how it is right now in this moment. So that's the first point, that it's really important to understand for the process of letting go of those negative feelings, to free yourself from all that worry, all that anxiety, whatever it is that's been holding you back. Now, the second point, and this is just a useful thing to really have, a useful idea in your mind, is something that enables you to have a sense of perspective. So I have a little image in my mind that I've used for some time now, and that's once I just saw a robin on a branch in winter, and it was just singing away. It was very beautiful. It was a lovely crisp winter's day, and I found that that gave me a real sense of perspective on other things that were going on in my life. It was that kind of bigger picture of life. Now, for some people, they just like to imagine a beautiful beach where they've been, and actually, if they were to be there in that place, everything would fall into perspective. For other people, it's a mountaintop, or perhaps even being in outer space, just looking at, you know, the planets and that whole bigger picture of the universe. But it would be really helpful for you just to think about somewhere or something that gives you the greater perspective on life. It might be to think about a small child or an elderly relative that has seen it all. But whatever that thing is, just kind of make a mental note of it, because you'll need it in the process. And the more powerful that thing, that image is to you, the more helpful it will be as the process works for you. So let's start. So beginning with that negative feeling. So I wonder if you can get a bit specific now and just think about an element of whatever it is that you've been worrying about that is really bugging you. Yeah. And so perhaps one particular thing, an element of it that you're struggling with, that perhaps there's worry, perhaps there's anxiety. And number one, I just want you to acknowledge that. So I want you to acknowledge that this is where you find yourself. This is the feeling that I have. It's not okay, but it just is where you find yourself right now in this moment. So I have this worry. This is where I am right now. And by doing that, you can just start to accept that this is where you are. And it's not saying this is how it's going to be forever, but it's acknowledging this is how I feel in this moment. This is where I am. The ball is here. Okay, and then the second thing you can do is just to notice the physical effect that that worry or anxiety has on your body. Where in your body do you feel it right now? So quite often people will feel it in their chest, in their stomach, perhaps in their hands. But really notice, because every feeling we have has a kind of physical feeling with it in our body. So if we're feeling sad, we might feel a sense of heaviness. Just noticing what that feeling is physically in your body right now. And if you like, you can put a sensation on it. It might be heavy worry or light worry or dizzy worry, or it might have a colour. It might be black worry or blue worry. Just noticing, and you can get really as specific as you like. You might even add a texture to it, but just really noticing what that worry, that anxiety feels like in your body. And then now I wonder if you can, step 3 is just accept the fact that that worry has made you feel this way. So again, the ball is here. This is where you are right now. This isn't how it's always going to be, but this is how it is in this moment. So I wonder if you can just accept the whole thing. So that is the fact that this situation has arisen, that you find yourself here with this worry. Now, it's not okay, but it just is, and this is where you are right now. And also accepting the way this worry has made you feel in your body, that it's perhaps given you a panicky feeling, perhaps you felt your heart beating, perhaps you felt a heavy or a light sensation, a sinking feeling, whatever that feeling is. I wonder if you can, again, just accept that that is where you are right now. Now, what I'm not saying is this is how it is always going to be, but in order to release this unpleasant feeling, you need to acknowledge and accept that this is where you find yourself in this moment. And now you've done that, just acknowledging that the ball is here, then you can start the process of letting go. So I wonder if you can now visualize that worry wherever you've noticed it in your body, wherever you're feeling it. And just imagine it, if you're seeing it as a colour or a sensation, just evaporating away. So as though a weight has been lifted, as though it's just dissolving away from your body into the air around you, just releasing it and letting it go. And you can then at this point also just acknowledge that that worry is what it is, for what it is in the bigger picture of life. And this is where you can bring in that image, whatever it is, that just puts life in the bigger perspective. It is as it is for what it is in this moment. And again, just allowing it to release, let it go. Now, obviously, we've only done this process with one particular aspect of this worry, and there may be lots of different aspects, and you may need to repeat this process. But this is essentially the building block for releasing that worry, that anxiety. And you can continue to do this process over and over again with other aspects of worry. And you can also use this process for anger, sadness, fear, anything else that crops up for you. So I hope you find it helpful. Please ping me an email or drop me a message if you would like to ask any more questions about it, and I'll be back with further tips in the future.